one of the most beautiful states, unless he's relocated because you retired recently, right, Dr. Harmon?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still in Idaho.
You're
Am
still
I
there.
muted? Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I can
Okay,
hear you
good.
perfectly. Let me replace my pin because I'm just going to let you take it over. All right, there he is. He's front and center.
All right.
Everybody can see you. Everybody wave to Dr. John Harmon. He's amazing. And there'll be more people joining. If people are hopping on here, make sure that you guys are muting yourself. If you just came into the Zoom room, hit the mute button, please. We appreciate you. Dr. John and his wife, I mean, his wife is gorgeous. These guys look like 20 years younger than they are. It's got to be the patch. It's got to be the healthy lifestyle.
It might
But
have something to do with that.
it
Yes.
might, we've had a lot of fun in the sun on many great adventures
Yeah, we have.
and we continue to do more. Like we want more of those great adventures, don't we? So we're so
Absolutely.
thankful. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. So I'll let you take it away. Share a little bit about yourself, your journey with LifeWave, how you became an amazing author, right? And we want everybody, if they don't have your books, to definitely go on tonight to Amazon to get them because it's something that it's a tool I use. Like I said, I have it at my doctor friends right now because doctors love to listen to doctors. I love that.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for
So,
having me. This is really exciting because when I met you, Renita, you had me with hello.
yes.
You and Scott. So I admire your enthusiasm, and I try to emulate that. And you and Scott have had so much success, and you have such a great team. I remember it was I think it was in Aruba,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's when we
Aruba.
met.
That was probably the first time,
You
right?
were sitting out on your patio there, and then I walked by, and we started talking about the book, and that's where we met. But almost every trip since then has been just a riot.
It has, I've been thinking David Schmidt must have that song, Kokomo playing, Aruba,
Yeah,
Jamaica,
exactly.
because now we're going to Bahamas next, right?
Right.
So I said to Scott, we're going to go to every place in that song, apparently. So this is a
Yeah,
good thing.
yeah.
We'll do it. We'll take it,
It's
right?
not quite in sequence, but definitely there. Yeah, I'm
Definitely
really
there.
excited to share this information with everybody tonight. I have gone through some shifts. I did sell my practice as of September 1st.
Wow.
What's really interesting is in the Dallas convention when Jack Canfield was talking. Do you remember? Yeah,
Yes. Yes, of
the
course.
headline speaker, he said, make BHAG goals, big, hairy
Audacious
goals.
goals. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And speak it out loud. Well, I spoke it out loud on Saturday. I went back in my practice on Monday, and one of our patients, who's a counselor, who had lost a daughter, and she had serious PTSD from that, and we helped her overcome that with the treatments that we do. And she said, "Yeah, my husband and I are getting our machine tomorrow." I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, we decided to do this for a living." And I said, "Why don't you stay after?" Anyway, they bought the practice. I set the
Wow.
goal on a Saturday. On a Monday, here it is. And they eventually bought the practice. So it's been
Wow.
really
Amazing.
busy. But LifeWave has gone so great for my family and for me that I thought it was time to sell, and now I'm just LifeWave full time. So it's been,
Wow. There you
yeah,
go. Come on.
yeah.
I love that.
I love sharing with doctors. Hey, doc, why don't you
Right.
make your plan B while you still have your plan A? Because there was a time in my practice, you mentioned a little bit of it, it nearly killed me. It was a bone infection. And that made me really open to taking a look at something else that could take the place of not being face to face with patients. And I
Right.
recommend all healthcare practitioners do that. I've seen that over the last 5 years. Several people, doctors that I talked to about LifeWave, who chose not to get involved, have had some of them have had some serious things, and they weren't able to
Mm.
practice for a long time. So
Wow.
I decided that wasn't going to be my story, and so now
Right.
here we are. I'm excited to share tonight just a couple of things. You mentioned they can go on Amazon. Two things. You're going to have an opportunity where you can actually scan a code and you can get an autographed copy because you don't get them autographed on Amazon. Or if you're coming to the convention, I'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday and I will have some. that
You know,
that you can get. And so just reach out.
they can buy it there. They can buy it there too. You'll have some there.
Yeah, if they're not going
But
to
let's not
convention,
rely on that. There's 10,000 people there. Like he's going to sell out. He can't bring 10,000 books.
no,
Like,
no. And after Wednesday, I'm not going to be doing anything with the books. I'll be spending time with my team.
that's
So
right.
Tuesday
That's
and
right.
Wednesday before it starts, I'll have some. And luckily, I'm a gold medallion for Delta, and I get to check two 75-pound bags. So I'm going to fill them up.
That's right. Bring on the books. Let's go,
Yeah.
baby.
Well,
I
just
love it.
kind of briefly, I I had some profound shifts in my heart health over a period of 2 years using the X39 that I'm going to tell you about. But it was those shifts that got me really asking questions like, how in the heck did this happen? So I started, I did some PowerPoint presentations. I went on PubMed. I looked up the research. After I looked up all that research, I thought, well, that wasn't very fun. I think I need to put it into a book. And so I've done the work. The book we're talking about tonight is called How to Reverse Aging, a Comprehensive Guide to Copper Peptides. And there are 91 references to the literature in the book. So those people, those doctors, those healthcare practitioners will say, well, what about the research? I need to get some documentation. Well, you're going to have some for them. I wouldn't recommend sharing this with everybody because a lot of people don't really care about, reading about research or anything. So,
Just
go with
hold the
your,
book up for them right there so you can all see it right there.
yeah.
There it is.
Go with your
Okay.
audience. If they want research, you can look it up in the book and text them a picture of it, a screenshot of it. So it's really
Right.
helpful that way. I
Yep.
really believe if you can marry the testimonials with a little bit of research when necessary,
Yep.
you come about it with just a little bit more authenticity because you know
Absolutely.
about the research. You're not going to explain it to everyone, but and you can pull bullet points from it. So maybe
Look,
look
John,
at,
that's what I do. That's my claim to fame. I just carry around books of smart people like your book. I just carry it with me. Everywhere I go, it's in my backpack, it's in my car. I just take the book with me because then I can tell the story about the miracles that are happening. But I'm like, hey, here's my friend, Dr. John Harmon. He actually wrote a book in great length explaining this GHK copper peptide. So I love that we have that. Like you said, it just adds that extra credibility if that's something that someone would need that we're talking to.
yes. A lot of people don't, but when you need it, it's good to have it.
That's
All
right.
right. Well, with that little bit of background, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have some slides, and I don't need to share the sound. So my message here tonight is there are things that we need to talk about. There are things that are happening to all of us, not just on this call, in the world. So this is an urgent message to everyone. And it's about aging, the accepted way of going into decline, and you get weaker and frail. And that's kind of like this. These people are aging, they're getting older, but what we're talking about tonight is not just this aging, and it's not just going from fast aging to slow aging. It's actually about age reversal. This peptide is known as the age reversal peptide, but also as the emergency response peptide. And you'll find out a little bit more about that. So tonight, it's how to reverse aging with GHKCU. The CU stands for copper peptide. And so I'll show you this first. And if you're not going to convention and you want to get a signed copy, this goes to my team and then it will be shipped out, not from Amazon because they aren't signed on Amazon. I also wrote this book, which is called The Reverse Aging Power of Epitalin. This is about the peptide that gets elevated in the blood when you wear the Alavita patch. Epitalin is the synthetic version It's not the natural form, but it's the same four amino acids. The reason they say epitalin in the research is because they couldn't harvest enough epithalamin, which is the natural version, to do research. So they synthesize it. That's why the difference in the name. I'm only going to read one thing tonight, and this kind of sets the stage for what we're going to be talking about. The use of copper peptides can be likened to turning a key and unlocking a realm of possibilities where aging is no longer considered an inevitable decline, but a continuation of life with sustained health and vitality. It suggests a future where aging gracefully isn't just about managing our normal decline, but about thriving well into our golden years and enjoying our maintained state of health and life experience. Page 175 in that book. This is an interesting slide because this is the first one I used when I first put all this information together, and I want you to take a look right here. In 2003, there were 13 pages of research papers, links to research papers. And I want you to notice this, 1977. This is how long research has been going on about the GHK copper peptide. But today, 2025, there are 15 pages of research papers listed on PubMed. This is where I got my information. So this graph kind of speaks to my entire presentation. Over here, we have functional capacity. Here's time. We go from robustness, we got it going on. I'm working out every day. I'm eating well, and I've got the bull by the horns, and then something happens. We get sick, there's an accident, there's stress, and it knocks us down. We go down here. It's what happens here that determines how high we get back up here to robustness. Do we just kind of recover, or are we up back here? Now something else happens. It's what happens down here. How well is my body prepared to deal with things that happen? They will happen. And now we're down here, and then something happens, and it pushes us right down into dependence and disability. My message to myself and everyone around me, that is not my future. And I hope after you see tonight that it will give you hope that it's not your future either. In life, we all make plans, we make goals, and everyone on here has made a goal. Sometimes it's real simple, like I'm going to go make a peanut butter sandwich. It's not a very elegant goal, but it's a goal. But we make goals in life. Have you really planned out what your life will look like when you're old? We make goals about marriage and how many kids, where, long-term goals, job, interests. I've always told my kids and my grandkids, find out what it is you really love to do, where your passion lies, what brings you joy, and then figure out a way to make a living at it. Then it's not going to work. Other goals, daily. Am I going to be someone who works out? What's my diet? Is it going to include fast foods? What about this? Have you actually projected out into your old age? Have you written down what your life will look like, what your health would look like, and then strive towards those goals? So I hope tonight I can spark growth of new neurons through neuroplasticity so that you will start to think about these things that we're discussing tonight. What it will look like. The next few slides have a little bit of a delay, a second or two, and it's intentional because I really want you to think about these things because they have to do with your future and how you can design your older years. So, first, what will I be like when I'm old in age? Will I even remember who I am? We had a lot of people, we treated a lot of people in my office with cognitive decline. And this slide was made from the voices and the echoes of the words that I heard of people talking about their loved one who doesn't remember who he or she is, and they are meeting a new person every 15 minutes in their house. Will I be meeting a new person in my house every 15 minutes? Will I be able to travel? Will I be hooked up to machines? Will my joints work? Will my joints work without pain? Will I be dependent upon someone else for my care? Or will I be independent and able to take care of myself? Will I be a passive observer in my own decline? Or will I be an empowered participant avoiding that decline? Which do you choose?
Oh, Dr. Don, I got to say this real quick. For my whole life, you can ask Scott this, since I've been dating Scott, now married to Scott for 25 years, I've been obsessed with healthy older people. I've been obsessed with them. My whole life, when I would see healthy older people, I would like hug them. I was just obsessed with them. Like I loved their vitality. I loved how their bodies looked. I loved how they moved. I loved the energy that they had. I loved when the husbands and wives were together and they were both healthy and they were kissing and having fun together. And I've been obsessed with it. And so my goal is to live to be 120 years young. That's my goal. And I know I'm gonna probably surpass it. Truth is, I just got my biological age tested. Since I've been wearing the patch, I'm going to be 49, Dr. Harmon, and I actually came back that I was 32. Right? So I'm 32. And so I said to Scott, you better go get your age tested because now you're like married to a young, frisky woman here. And so, he goes, he's lost 95 pounds, So he goes and gets tested and he comes in the house and he said, I'll be honest with you. I was scared to go get tested after you came back 16 years younger. I was a little nervous about it, Renita. And he said, I'm going to tell you, I'm not as young as you. He's 51, right? His real age, but his biological age came back at 42. So he's not 32 like me, he's 42. So my doctor was so amazed with that we came back younger. She signed up and got the premium pack because she said there is something to these patches because the average person does not come back younger. She says the average person on their biological age is older than their chronological age. She said, so you guys are doing something right. And I'm thinking it's got to be the patch and it's got to be the attitude as you're asking these questions, the attitude that we perceive ourselves as young and healthy and vibrant. And we talk that over our lives and the direction we're moving, right? We want adventure. We want fun in the sun. We want a vacation with Dr. Harmon and his wife and go paddleboarding in Bora Bora, right? Like we want the fun. And so we're voicing this out loud, you guys. So what he's saying with this is powerful. Dr. John, powerful what you're telling everybody. You got to get a vision for how you want to look and feel as we age. It's so important. Okay, I just had to say that because I love it. I love it all.
So what are those things that make us age faster and die younger? And now my screen is stuck. There we go. And can we do anything about it? That's what we're talking about tonight. So there are some things that are beyond our control. There are accidents that happen and stress in life, but we're going to talk about things that we can influence tonight. Okay. Why do we age faster? what are the actual mechanisms that people cause people to age faster and look much older? 3 years ago, I went to my 50-year high school reunion, and there were some of my friends that looked like they could have been my dad.
Yeah.
Say, man, what have you been doing? So let's talk about telomere shortening. If for those of you who don't know what they are, those are the endings on our genes that hold hold the chromosomes at the ends of the chromosomes that hold our genes together. And each time a cell divides, they don't really look like this, but this is a diagram. Notice a healthy young person has longer telomeres than an aged person. And what happens is, I call it a little throwaway part. So when a cell divides, these have to separate and then come back and replicate and then come back together. And each time that happens, we lose a little length here. And you can go to a lab and have your telomeres measured, and they can tell you about how long. That's one of the things they use as a measurement of your biological age. How short or how long are the telomeres? Well, what does the research say about that? We're going to find that out when we find out also that the genes, the genomic instability, is another cause of aging. So we have our genes, we have radiation. You go do a CT scan, and we have radiation. We get exposed to chemicals, but here is a biggie, and a lot of people maybe haven't thought about it in this context. Our bodies are continually, as things are metabolized through our system, the reason we have a urinary tract and a bowel is to get rid of the things that'll kill us if they stay in our body long enough. So metabolic processes, these are very, very important cause of toxin buildup if they don't function right. So what does the research say about telomeres and our genes? Well, the GHK copper peptide resets 4,200 of our genes to a younger state. This has to do with repairing the damage. This is what I think, this is my personal opinion. David Schmidt has said that very quickly the GHK copper peptide repairs and resets our genes to a healthier, younger state. And it happens rather quickly. You've all heard the term one patch wonder. My opinion is that what happens is there were genes in these people that weren't able to do their job. We call it coding, telling the body to do something. And all of a sudden it's turned back on, and then their body can do this. And you've all probably met people who say, yeah, like right away I could do this and I couldn't. That's what I think is going on. But the GHK also protects genes against sun damage, radiation, and
Mhm.
chemicals.
We see
And
that one a
it
lot,
helps
Dr.
to
John.
lengthen the telomeres. I'm sorry?
That we just see that one a lot. Like people that would typically always sunburn or have to get all these moles and things cut off from their,
Oh, yeah.
their skin
Huge.
doctors. I mean, I've got
Right.
some elderly people that are in their 90s that since they started patching, and again, we don't want to make any claims here. There's no medical claims, but the truth is these people have literally not had anything cut off since they started patching. And their doctor is telling them, whatever you're doing, please keep doing that. Please
Right.
keep doing it, you know?
So here we have a little diagram. We get a little damage. Genes are altered. In comes the GHK, resets them to a normal state, which then you get normal expression. There are 2,600 expressions of a gene, and the gene can express different ways according to your stress, your diet, your all of those things. So, and you get younger. Next topic: mitochondrial dysfunction. These are the powerhouses of the cells. It's astounding how many of them can be in a cell. In muscle cells, there can be up to 100,000 of them. Most of them have fewer than that. But here's what happens. You think you think about, or we think about energy as, I have energy to work out. But here's the more basic part of that story. Each cell has to have enough energy to do what it's designed to do, but also to detox. So
Yeah.
if we have cells that can't detox, they can't be a happy little cell, the perfect little cell, and we can't repair because we don't have enough energy to drive the repair team. And then these cells will turn into zombie cells. That's a real term. And what does that mean? That means the cell is supposed to do a function. It's a kidney cell. It has to do filtration. It plays a role in kidney function. Well, I can't do my job, so therefore I'm just sucking up your resources and I want you to feed me, but I'm not doing any work. So then the body has to store these toxins in our tissues, in the fatty tissues, maybe in the liver, the kidneys, the brain. More damage occurs and it leads to cellular death. And this is why people all of a sudden start losing weight using the patches, using the X39, is because their cells have enough energy to detox, and then we lose that extra weight that we've been storing in
Let me just say
the
this real
fat.
quick. I heard from a doctor friend of mine, and you're saying it exactly what my doctor friend said. The reason people get fat and the reason people gain weight is because their mitochondria become sluggish and less efficient. And so it's like, the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell becomes less efficient. So the body starts to increase in size.
Yeah,
Right. And
that's what I was
yeah.
saying.
Yep, exactly what you're saying. So that's why we have some people, when they started the patch, I think of my friend Connie, maybe she's on here tonight, I'm sure she is, but she started, and within 3 weeks she called me up and she goes, Renita, I've lost 17 pounds. And I said, well, this is interesting for me to hear because it's not a weight loss patch, right? So why are you losing weight? But then I thought, well, her mitochondria have up-leveled their energy performance, and they can push out the toxins and get rid of the sludge in the system, right? So maybe you've lost inflammation, but knowing what I know now, it just gave her the energy probably to detox more appropriately, right, Dr. John?
Right. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, I love it.
But it also, in the research, it shows that this peptide is a key component of energy production in the mitochondria, because there's a enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase, where the GHK copper peptide is one of the final stages in making energy. But the other thing it does, it helps to move oxygen through our body, which obviously has huge benefits for normal life, but also for working out. So next topic, what is another thing that causes this? Well, it's cognitive decline. This was what we help people with in my clinic, Clear Mind, Idaho, that I sold as of September 1st. Slow disappearance of oneself. Here's a couple of kind of disturbing brain facts. Research shows the average healthy adult loses, and this is an update, I used to say 9,000, but new data has come out. It's about 10,000 neurons per day, which is 3.65 million per year. This decline begins at around the age of 30. We form new neurons at about 700 to 1,500 per day, mostly in the area for short-term memory and learning called the hippocampus, but that's only 250,000 a year. So I've asked people in my practice, in LifeWave, what are you doing to decrease the loss, and what are you doing to increase the new growth of neurons? Here's a chart about that. So average healthy adult loses about 10,000, only replaces 700, net loss 9,300 a day. Highly active and have a healthy brain, they exercise, learning, low stress, will lose only 8,000, replace 1,500, net loss 6,500. Aging or neurodegenerative will lose up to 20,000 a day, and then replace 300 or fewer, and that accelerates the older they get. So let's talk about GHK copper peptide study. It was a brain mapping study performed by an independent lab using the X39 over a 6-week period. And they were measuring a measurement called brain coherence. And so that is a measurement of synchronization of signals between two sides. Let's say the two frontal lobes, two temporal lobes. The right and the left brain, parts of the brain do different things, but they have to communicate with each other. Like, I'm looking at a person, they have a striped sweater on, black and white stripes. The left side of my brain is processing the stripes. The right side is processing facial decoding, facial expressions, colors. And they say, hey, this is what I see. What do you see? Well, this is what I see. And that goes on all day long. And it's normal to have a specific amount of crosstalk between those two. So it quantifies how much they're communicating back and forth. And you don't want to have too much and you don't want to have too little. Well, that measurement called coherence, and when it's normal, it's just right. And the brain functions more normally. Hypercoherence is when the sites aren't functioning efficiently and interdependently, and there's too much crosstalk. So it's like a traffic jam. I call it on Eagle Road. That's the busiest street in Idaho. And so here's an important fact I want you to remember. The more areas of hypercoherence we have in our brains, the more autistic we are. Hypercoherence is too much. There's too much crosstalk and it's abnormal. Hypocoherence is when there's poor site interaction and it's an indication of diminished cognitive efficiency. So it's on the opposite end. I can't remember this, I can't remember that, because there's not enough communication. So hypocoherence is not enough. Brain maps were done on these participants before using the patch at 3 weeks and 6 weeks. Let me just interpret this a little bit. This is looking down on the head where it says sessions, where the nose would be. This red is hypercoherence. The blue is hypocoherence. What's fascinating is as the hypercoherence went down, this brain overcompensated. It went to hypocoherence, and then it went more to normal. This was only 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Here's the next one. This is what we in my industry call, this is a brain on fire, man. This person has hypercoherence everywhere. And then it started to go back to normal, 6 weeks, more normal. Obviously, it gets better and better over time. And then this one also mostly red, but got more symmetrical and less areas of hypercoherence. So what does that mean? So it means...
Just for a second, let's talk about this. These are in our back office, Dr. John, right? Yeah, I've seen these in our back office. So if you guys are in LifeWave, if you click on resources in your back office.
They used to be. Yep. They're not found there now.
Under studies, when you scroll to the inside link, they still are there. You know how I know? I just looked at them 3 days ago. I looked at exactly what you're showing us 3 days ago in our back office. They did move it. Good. They did move it. So it's not the same place it was, but it is there in our back office because I just looked at that. So when you're showing me that again, I'm like, oh, there it is, that brain stuff again.
Oh, great. Yep. All right. So what does the research say about copper peptide in the brain? Everyone, if you don't know what the blood-brain barrier is, it's kind of like a big sieve, and it keeps out big things like bacteria and viruses and things out of your brain. Now, it can get leaky just like the gut can, the barrier in the gut, but it is the GHK copper peptide that actually transports copper across the blood-brain barrier where it's needed to make neurons, its synapses, and neurotransmitters. You have to have copper in order to make those things. And it's this copper peptide basically hangs onto the copper, so it's not free copper, delivers it in and says, here you go, here's some copper. and I'm going to go back and get some more. I'll bring you some more. I'll be back in a little bit. And it comes back, and then it's also needed to make BDNF. Brain-derived neurotropic factor is the substance your brain makes when you're doing new tasks. It'll say, hey, Renita's done that at least 45 seconds every day. She's probably going to do it tomorrow. So, hey, what do you say we get together and make new neurons so she can do it better? That's BDNF. It also, now, this is so important right here. Remember, hypercoherence, hypocoherence promotes neural progenitor differentiation. So differentiation means these cells can become different things, almost like stem cells, but they're progenitor cells, neural progenitor cells, and it also increases the GHK copper peptide, increases neural growth factor, NGF. It also reduces edema if there is an injury. This is from the literature as well. So if you get a concussion and you have a high content of GHK in your brain, there's much less swelling, therefore much less damage if you are injured. So it has a neuroprotective effect and helps prevent cognitive decline. We talked about that in the brain mapping study. And it also has mood stabilizing properties in the brain. It's anti-anxiety. A couple more things. So this study talked about how the GHK beneficially altered the expression of human genes involved in neuron function by 50%. Do you want to remember who you are when you're older? Do you want to be meeting a new person in your house? No, we don't. Use the X39. We don't make any claims. We can't do that. But this is what the literature says. It's not my opinion. Here's the interesting study was they saw that when someone did have a brain injury, neuronal apoptosis or death of brain cells was much reduced if someone had a high level of GHK or if they used GHK right after that injury. So you get much less hemorrhage, and there's another anti-anxiety. So this is why in my clinic that I sold, we use the X39 as part of our protocols. It checks another box for us. Next topic, stem cell exhaustion. We lose our ability to replace cells. What does the research say about that and stem cells? Well, it activates production of pluripotent stem cells. It directs stem cells toward damaged tissue. Hey, fellas, over here. We need some work over here. Stem cells. This is the place. This is where you got to be. And it directs or attracts stem cells to the damaged tissue. And it activates genes associated with stem cell productions. It kickstarts regenerative potential of stem cells. So you've heard David say this. He says it actually activates dormant stem cells. That's from the literature. Cardiovascular disease. This is near and dear to my heart, pun intended, because that's where I've had the most changes. Let's talk about the different ways the heart can be affected. So cardiovascular disease, number one cause of death. A high fibrinogen level is the number one predictor of probability of having a stroke, and you are 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke if this is elevated. So what is fibrinogen? Fibrinogen is the substance that makes our red blood cells a little sticky. We have to have a little bit of that because if we get a cut or a bleed, we have to be able to clot. So it's fibrinogen that facilitates that. If it's too high, your blood is too sticky, your blood cells, and too many of them stick together, and that's a clot. That causes a stroke. So the other way of having heart problems is myocardial infarction, which is decreased oxygen to the tissue.
Okay.
What does the literature say about that? GHK helps keep fibrinogen synthesis levels normal. it influences a gene that your body uses to make that molecule, and it keeps it in check, kind of modulating, overproduction of that. It also increases a substance called myostatin gene expression 9.5 times, and that's what inhibits heart failure. And this is a biggie. This is not just for heart, it's for skeletal muscle. When you have hypoxia or a deprivation of oxygen, whether it's in your skeletal muscle, like biceps, triceps, quads, or your heart muscle, there's a whole series of events that are put into place, and it involves the GHK copper peptide. So if you have the deprivation of oxygen, your body sends down the GHK to start a process, and it activates enzymes that basically eat holes into the damaged tissue or where there's not enough oxygen, so that new capillaries can rapidly grow into that damaged tissue. This is why when you're going to see in a few minutes where fingers have been cut off, but the surgeon agreed to sew it back on because of this property.
This is why, let me just interject here for anybody watching how this is applicable in your LifeWave and in your health is if you've had a surgery or going in for a surgery, right, Dr. John? Like, we want people to be patching because we know we had this experience with our son Truett, who was 18, who literally went in 3 months after he tore 4 ligaments in the knee, and they only had to repair 2 of the 4. The doctor was amazed. Truett's healing time was unbelievable. Kids that had the same knee surgery were going back in for another surgery. Meanwhile, Truett was dunking basketballs. And so it was just unbelievable to witness his healing. So if you're on here and you have a surgery, schedule for a surgery, something coming up, I would absolutely, with what he just presented right there, be patching it up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see pictures of that in a minute. So it also helps with repair collagen. It helps with elastin. So let's talk about that. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. You don't need to answer. Just answer to yourself. When does a person find out that they had a burst aortic aneurysm? They actually don't. Their family finds out because they didn't make it. So if over decades you're able to repair collagen and make your vessels stronger, and also the elastin, which restores integrity or makes it more flexible, then you are much less likely, in my opinion, to suffer one of those things later in life. That's what took out my brother-in-law. He was getting ready to go work out, had a dissecting aortic aneurysm, and it took him out. That was about 15 years ago. So here's another biggie. The GHK, from the literature, it helps to prevent the oxidation of LDL, which decreases the risk of a buildup of atherosclerosis in your heart. So LifeWave did a 6-week organ function study with the X39. They measured, it wasn't just for the cardiovascular system, but the measurements in this study showed that the cardiovascular systems of the participants over a 6-week period wearing the X39 acted, it's another way of saying reversed in age, but it acted 2 months younger. So I came up with the math back then. I said, for every day you wear the patch, your cardiovascular system gets a day and a third younger. Do the math. It's 6 weeks on the patch, 2 months younger. So so very important. That's the number one killer. Next topic, cancer. Now, just know that I'm not making any claims about cancer. But it's the number 2 killer globally, and it's increasing rapidly over the last 4 or 5 years. So the research does have some information about the GHK copper peptides effect. So obviously, I said we're not making claim, but this is what the research shows. It resets the programmed cellular death cycle in several different types of cancer cells. It inhibits 25 genes that are associated with a predisposition to get cancer, and it helps repair the DNA. Remember when we were talking about the genomic instability? If the GHK can help repair the genes that do get damaged, then those cells aren't going to replicate with mutations and have a much higher chance of becoming cancer cells. So the clock is ticking. How do we get GHK copper peptide? Well, you can get it in an infusion or an injection. A buddy of mine who wrote the book, A Better Way to Treat Cancer, Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, we were in the same clinic years ago, and he was writing his book at the same time I was writing mine, unbeknownst to each other. But he does alternative cancer care. He uses infusions of the GHK copper peptide as part of his protocols because of their anti-cancer properties. So you can get it in an infusion. Injections sting like heck. One of my friends was giving herself injections of the GHK copper peptide, and when I said, you don't have to do that anymore, she was really happy. Or you can get creams from dermatologists. They were the first to embrace the use of GHK years ago. Or you can use this breakthrough technology called the X39 photobiomodulation patch and make your own. This is what is shown in the literature. It signals the body to make the own. So think about it like this. We have a patch. We know that it elevates GHK, and I'm going to talk about that. So in order to determine any potential benefit of wearing that patch, you simply turn to the literature that's been going on since 1977, long before the company LifeWave ever existed. David Schmidt targeted that peptide because it's known to turn on the genes that signal your body to make more stem cells. So what is that study? LifeWave, the study was published in Internal Medicine Research, March 7th, 2021, Volume 6, Issue 1. What did they do? Well, it was a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial that explored the impact of wearing the X39 non-transdermal photobiomodulation patch over a period of 1 week on the level of the GHK copper peptide in the blood. Some people ask, well, why did they just do it for a week? You'll know in a minute. So the research paper was presented to the U.S. Patent Office in order to receive the patent for this technology of the X39. So what did they do? 60 people randomized into two groups. They were randomly selected, by the way. A tube of blood was drawn. They started wearing the patch after the tube was taken. More blood was taken at 24 hours and 7 days. Interestingly, there wasn't a big increase after the first 24 hours, but at 7 days, there was a huge increase. So that was the study that was done. So how do these work? Well, they're made of organic nanocrystals. Don't get that all. Some people get conflicted when they hear the word nano. That just means really, 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 really small. And they're formulated to reflect back into you part of the energy that you're already making. And I'll help you understand that in a minute. So what actually happens when you put that on your skin? The same sensors in our skin that sunlight stimulates, the UVB light stimulates, signals your body to make vitamin D. And notice vitamin D starts with 7-dehydrocholesterol. Don't ever believe anybody who tells you that cholesterol is harmful for you. It's one of the most important chemical or molecules in your body, and it's needed for many things. Maybe we can do a zoom on that. But cholesterol, 70% of your brain is made of cholesterol. The insulation around your nerves is made of cholesterol. You need all the cholesterol you can make. But what happens is this process, the sun hits your skin, your body gets the message, hey, start up the vitamin D factory. And then you start making vitamin D. Similarly, Well, this is how you're going to understand this process. Go into a diamond store, a jewelry store. You go up to the diamond cabinet, and you see all these colors. You see orange and yellow and red and green and blue and purple. What is that? The cuts on the diamond, called facets, reflect or separate out the white light into the individual wavelengths of light that are perceived by our eyes as colors. Your body is the bright white light. They figured out in 2009 that we humans actually glow. We emit infrared, far infrared, but also in the visible light spectrum. So your body is the power source. That's the most elegant and brilliant biohack ever. Hey, really, reutilize some of our own energy that we're making and reflect it back in the body. We put these on specific points. They're acupuncture points. The reason we do that is because that's where the research was done for continuity and ruling out any variables. And they are very well known globally. You don't have to say, well, this spot was 3 inches below the left clavicle, and they just say on a specific acupuncture point, just so it was always the same. You can really put them anywhere on the body. All kinds of benefits: activating stem cells, pain relief, reduced inflammation, wound healing, energy and vitality. We talked about why all of these things happen, and here it is in a summary. 12 hours on, 12 hours off, put a new one on the next day, drink plenty of water to help your body with the detox that it's going to want to do to get rid of stuff that has been building up. Athletes all over the world are using them. This was the world's strongest man. The world's strongest man right now isn't this guy, but you see him wearing them. We see athletes all over the world are using these patches. Back in 2004 with Michael Phelps, they used them to win all these medals. Got accused of doping. There wasn't any. In the Beijing Olympics, there were over 300 athletes using them. This is David Beckham, very famous soccer player. This is the story I want to tell you about. This little boy got his fingertip cut off, and the doctor refused to sew the tip back on. He said, it's going to die. There's no capillary growth. And the dad said, I have this patch. He sewed it back on, and remember, GHK activates rapid growth of capillaries into damaged tissue that has no oxygen, and so they saved the fingertip. Skin changes. Look at they call these liver spots. They have nothing to do with the liver. It's melanin pigment, but you can see the changes in skin that happen. Also here, 25 apnea events. No claims are made on this. This is one person's experience. 2.5 months later, I would have looked like this if I was getting 25 apnea events in 1 hour. That's horrible. This man had stubborn cells, he calls them. That's what we're going to call them too. But over a period of, this is before starting, and then this is June to August, huge changes. A friend of ours we know very well, don't we, Renita? Before and after changes over quite a long time. So we have this gal's hair, big hair changes in scarring. People ask me, well, how's that possible? Well, the GHK activates collagen repair, but also collagen destruction. Why would you want to destroy collagen? Well, scar tissue is haphazard deposition of collagen, whereas skin is organized. It helps break up the cross linkages so that things aren't so sticky and immovable. This other gal, 93 years old, lost 41 pounds, no more GERD, no more neuropathy, arthritis, discomfort, life-changing for her. Stung by a bee overnight, changes on this little guy. The patches aren't recommended for treating pets, but people do it. And this little doggy's eye, that she didn't even know what it was, but now it's normal. This is me before I started patching on the left. And this is just a recent headshot I had for the podcast that I do now. By the way, if you're interested, it's called Root Cause Holistic Health. We talk about root cause stuff. And my hair started turning brown from back to front. It was weird. A friend of mine said, "Do you realize your hair is turning back to brown?" I said, "No, it's not." Because I was just looking here. And she said, "Bend over, I'll take a picture of your head." And then this was about a year later, I think I took this picture. This is a friend of mine. You see, this big old spot went away. Can't even tell where that was. That was a Mohs procedure. Long-term effects, get with the person who invited you to this, and you can go over these. I'm not going to read these, but there are lots of benefits. I want to briefly tell that, I talked about the organ function study, but this kind of leads into what happened to me. John's return to health, I call it. If you don't know what a right bundle branch block is, look it up on PubMed. All-cause mortality goes up if you have an RBBB. That was my future. That was my future back in 2020. I didn't even know I had it when I first started using the patches. I had the first stress echo done 4.5 months after I started using it, and that's when I found out I had it. You know what my first thought was? Well, why didn't it heal me already? So here's the timeline. I knew I had PVCs when I was a kid in high school. I used to run. I was a long distance runner, and my heart was great when I was running, but I would get these PVCs, which means it's skipping a beat, at rest. I started using the X39 in April of 2020. August, the PVCs got really rhythmic and weird every fifth beat, day and night, day and night. I'd lie in bed and say, "Hey, Carla, my heart is skipping a beat every fifth beat. It's really weird." And that's what prompted this stress echo, because I was having my first knee replacement then, and that's another topic. It was the worst the doc's ever seen. I was a pretty aggressive skier and runner. But it showed I had a right bundle branch block. 2 weeks later, those PVCs were gone. This is the first stress echo. It shows sinus rhythm with the right RBBB. Says I have this right bundle branch block. Here's the second one. I'm going to zoom in right down where this crease is in the paper. Right bundle branch block is no longer present. And then I got this from the MyChart app. Everything's normal, no issues noted. How happy do you think I was when I got this? My wife, my 27 grandkids, my 10 kids. It's a big deal, and it's life-changing for me. So tonight, you've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself. Your body powers the patch. You've had the power all along. David Schmidt came and figured out how to recycle it. So one of my favorite slides, I've figured out what I want to be when I get older. I want to be younger. So those of you who have not been patched yet, get a patch on you, experience it, and get started. These are being used worldwide. Millions of people are having success all over the world. It's time that you did the same. I mentioned this at first. If you're going to the convention in Anaheim, reach out to me there through Facebook. Just send me an instant message and we can hook up. There are going to be 10,000 people there, so we'll have to designate a place. Here's the code you can scan if you're not going to convention and you want to get a signed copy. Just scan that. It will take you to a place. You put your information and you can order a signed copy. So I hope you got some information to share with those very nerdy, analytical people that drive you crazy, who want to know all the details about everything. And a lot of them are the healthcare providers. And now you can be armed with information and you can come about this with more authenticity when they say, well, what does it do for cardiovascular disease? Get a couple of bullet points for all of the things that I listed. And the analytical people will be very impressed that you actually have that knowledge and you can share it. And what that does, it does this. Stop asking those questions. You answered them. They're testing you. They're testing you to see what you know. Do you really know anything, or are you just doing the little talking points? Elevate stem cells. Not that that's bad. So for most people, that is all we have to do. But you're going to lose those analytical people if you don't have a couple of bullet points. You don't have to recite the book. One or two for each one.
Good idea. I'm getting off this and ordering 20. That's all there is to it. Because I borrowed mine out. I'm going to say, keep the book. I got 20 coming. Because the deal is, when you just carry around the book, like, I'm not as smart as Dr. John Harmon. I don't have the heart experience. Wow. That heart testimony that you have is powerful, tremendous. I mean, your wife must be just jumping up and down for joy along with your children.
Let me say one thing about that right now, because it's very pertinent. So when I first noticed this, as long as I used to run 40 to 50 miles a week when I was in my 20s. Things happened. I had some surgeries. I injured a foot. I had degeneration in my knee from skiing, so I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't test it. But we just tried to walk up a hill behind our neighborhood, and my heart felt like it was going to pound out of my chest. And my recovery time was super, super long. And after that went away, I said to my wife, I said, my recovery time is normal again. And my heart doesn't feel like it's pounding out of my chest. How huge do you think that is for me? I'm 71. And my future was, that. Now I work out for an hour. We have a gym in our garage, in our third bay, and I go out there and work out for an hour. And it's like, I was young again. I am young again.
Get it? You're literally, I always tell people when they say, what's it going to help? I'm like, well, I don't know specifically on your body, because I don't know where the weakest link is, where all this regeneration is going to happen. But, we do see a lot of skin stuff. We do see a lot of stomach stuff. I do see a lot of eyes and teeth stuff. And I do see a ton of brain stuff and a ton of heart stuff. I mean, Dr. John, I remember when I first started, I was only probably in the business a year. We've been here 3 years now. I'll never forget it. I think I still have it saved on my phone. I had this woman that started on the patches. She was having tremendous success. She said, Renita, my aging dad, he's like in his late 80s, is going in for a heart surgery, some familial, family thing with the heart, and all of his brothers and sisters had it. Now he's got it. And I said, well, start patching. And she said, now? I said, yeah. I said, his surgery's not for 3 weeks. Start patching now. I said, why not? Like, what does he have to lose? And she goes, well, we got the surgery scheduled. I'll never forget this. She called the day of the surgery, screaming on my voicemail, crying. You could just hear her, this woman sobbing. She goes, Renita, we're at the hospital. And she said, my dad was getting ready to go in for surgery, and they administered this test. And she said, the test came back normal. She said, they just let him out of the hospital. She was like bawling and frantic on the phone because they sent her dad home. And she said, he does not, I repeat, he does not have to have the surgery because he did not have what he had 3 weeks ago. And I remember listening to that thinking, holy Moses. I mean, I think I listened to it 20 times because I was like crying and cheering.
It's like these miracles. And they don't know how it happened. The doctor, in fact, here's what will happen. The doctor said, what have you been doing? Oh, we've been doing, you say, oh, just keep doing it. Do you want to know about it? No, just keep doing it. Because they just lost out on a $50,000 surgery. They're not so happy about that. Right?
Wow. Oh my gosh. You are a total blessing. I'm over here like jaw dropped, so thankful. I mean, everybody give them the love. Like, I wore the love hat because I'm like, you got to patch people you love. We love you. Oh my gosh, we love you so much. Get out and buy the book, both on X39 and the epithelion. So that he talks about both the X39 and the Elevita in his books. Go to Amazon, buy both, buy a dozen of them. I have some people asking for this presentation. No. You don't need Dr. John's presentation. You need Dr. John's book. Linda. Okay. You just take that book with you wherever, because you're not going to reinvent Dr. John. You're not Dr. John, my friend. Don't try to be. Just grab the book. I always say, listen, I'm not as smart as my friend, Dr. John, but he wrote this book about GHK copper peptide. I'm going to leave it with you because I know you're analytical and you love to research, right? And you just leave that little copy of that book right with them and you let them read all about it to their heart's content, right? Don't pretend like you're a doctor. Don't start diagnosing. This is not what we do here in this business, guys. What we do is I always say, you got to know where to point and promote. You got to know, like, we're part of This Is It team, right? So we go to This Is It info and This Is It team. But right. I also know that Dr. John Harmon is a very, very valuable resource in this community. And so what do I point to? His book.
And somebody put in the chat, put your link in the book. Yeah, absolutely.
Here, I'll do it right now. Yeah, we need this. And he also put that
when they give a book away, to actually put their link in there so the person can go on and order from them.
Oh, yeah.
On their website.
So exactly. So make sure you do that. Here, let me I put the book in there right now. But do you have a different website where they get the signed copy?
Yeah.
Other than Amazon? What's that website? Just show us the QR, or maybe we just need the QR code again, huh? Do you guys want the QR code again?
Let me put that up there again.
Put that up again. And you guys just take a picture of this with your iPhones. Just take your phones out or screenshot it if you're watching this on your iPhone, because this is where you're going to get the signed copy from Dr. Harmon, because you want that. You'd be like, listen, this guy's my friend. This guy is my friend. Like, you know what I always say? I don't have to be the smartest person when I hang out with all the smart people. Like, all my friends are way smarter than me. I just hang out with the good guys, right? And I'm just letting them do what they do best, which is educate and inspire. Wow, you've just been a total blessing tonight. We just so appreciate you and your beautiful bride and all of that amazing. I mean, 10 children. How many grandchildren did you say?
We have 27 now.
27 grandchildren.
Yes.
Wow.
So yes. Grandpa, over the last 5 years, Grandpa's gotten a little younger, so I can keep up with him a little bit better.
Oh my gosh, you could say that again. Hey, listen, my boys said to me yesterday, they said, Mom, you and Dad are actually looking younger than you did 10 years ago. And I said, praise the Lord. I said, I think it's the patch. There's a common denominator. We're both wearing the patch, right?
Yes.
And so the bottom line is that's what you're going to see. And, Dr. John, they call this the glow peptide. So I'll never forget the first convention I went to, which was 3 years ago. Scott and I went to the very first convention. There was only 2,000 people, by the way. I would say 75 to 80% of the people there were doctors. They were doctors, right? There wasn't like a bunch of network marketers. It was like doctors. And we showed up at this convention. I remember saying to Scott, we had only been in LifeWave 6 weeks. I said, why is everybody glowing? I said, I feel like these people are all glowing. I'm walking around, I'm looking at people. They're literally like just shining stars. And I said to Scott, it's just bizarre. I was asking everybody, what skincare do you use? And now 3 years later, I'm telling you exactly what it is. The patch, because the patch activates that GHK copper peptide, and that peptide all over social media right now is known as the glow peptide. And I'm like, oh my gosh, 3 years ago, I was asking people what lotion they're putting on, and this is an inside job all along, right? Oh my gosh, we're so excited, you guys. Dr. John, everyone's going to be coming and hugging you and giving you some love at convention. So I hope you're ready for the hugs and the love. Come on, baby. This is the love team.
I'm always ready for a hug and some love.
I love it. I love it. And I think that love is transforming the world. The love and light of what we're doing here, you guys, is what's transforming it all. So stay in the light, be the light, share the light, just like Dr. Harmon. Everybody give it up for him tonight. Yeah, everybody's like,
thank you very much.
Send him the love.
Thank you, Renita.
We appreciate you. We'll see you down in Cali in a couple days. Have a great night, everybody.
Tuesday around 2:00.
Okay, Tuesday around 2:00. He's going to be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and we'll see you at convention, everybody. God bless you, Dr. Harmon. Tell your beautiful bride hello. God bless. Thanks, everybody, for hopping on. What a blessing. What a blessing. We're blessed.